Hello, my name is Alan, and today I'm facilitating the last of 4 sessions of the Dee Sanction. This is Paul Badowski's game of, how did you describe it? Elizabethan Enochian espionage. This is about agents of Dr. John Dee, Queen Elizabeth I's astrologer and court musician. There's the Queen. And he has recruited these agents of Dee using a wrinkle in the recent act against witches and witchcraft. So all of these characters are heretics, sentenced to hang or burn for their sins and crimes. But they've been given a second chance if they will simply do what Dr. Dee tells them to do. Let's meet them. Let's go left to right on the character keeper, starting with Will. Say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Titus Froste.
Hi, I'm Will, pronouns he, him, as are those of Titus Froste, a former scavenger from Glastonbury who learned at the foot of a Wandering Knights Templar and joined the Octagon Society. A lot of that's probably a bit over his head because he's quite a dim lad, frankly, but he has developed a firm belief and interest in the Hollow Hills and the legends of an inner world of lost people and forgotten knowledge, which he's looking forward to exploring as he enters what to him could well be the entrance to the Hollow Earth, but may well just be a small cellar. Who knows?
Indeed. I should have said my pronouns are he, him. Moving along, Sabine, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and tell us about Friar Clark.
Oh. Hi, my name is Sabine. I use any pronouns, and opposite to appearances, I'm not playing Georgina. I am playing Friar Theophilus Clark, and Theophilus is he has a very, I would say basic, but that's the wrong word, original view of Christianity. Back to the roots, right? Back to what Jesus wanted, and not what others tell you. Of course, the Pope is important because Peter was Jesus's stone rock, and that is important. So he's Catholic pronunciation, sorry. And yeah, he has been a little bit too vocal about his beliefs, and that got him into this fine situation where he hangs out with these lovely gentlemen. And right now, last time we saw him, he entranced some rats that then I think it was Tobias went on to slaughter. That was not particularly nice, but they were rats, right? If you're a guy in Elizabethan age, you're probably not very sentimental about rats.
Indeed not, particularly when, as they supped on some blood that had spilled in the corridor, they were being corrupted and bloated and becoming very twisted. So a precautionary slaughtering. Which takes us to Captain Tobias Slater. But Paul, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and then introduce us to Captain Tobias Slater.
Hello, I'm Paul, he, him, and the character I'm playing is Tobias Slater, Witch Locator, also he, him. Tobias also joins Titus on the dim-witted ometer, and Tobias is somewhere near the bottom of that, but that never gets in the way of a good slaughtering, and Tobias is definitely that is his key in life, slaughtering normally witches or anything that could be said to somewhere be near a witch, and for his sins, Tobias was a follower of the Church of Rome, and that got outed in the court. And that's how Tobias Slater ended up on the wrong side of Queen Elizabeth.
Thank you. Then Puckett, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Herr Maximilian Schwartz.
Hi there, my name's Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. I will be playing, as Alan said, Herr Maximilian Schwartz. And I am old. I am grumpy. I am tired. At this point, I don't particularly care whether I live or die as long as it gets me out of this damned country with its damned rain. I don't want to be here. And instead, I am 30, 40, 50 feet below ground with the man who tried to have me burned at the stake. That would be the papist, Captain Slater. And all I can hope is that I get to have the small joy, such as it is, of either leaving this world and not having to worry about what happens. But it might be a blessing if before I go, I get to see Herr Slater precede me.
Yes, I don't think that Captain Slater pointed out that it was in fact Herr Schwartz who, from the dock of the court, revealed his Jesuit leanings. It occurs to me that this is our fourth session. Technically, the rules say every other adventure, but I've been treating it as every other session. So you are due, you could reveal another backstory ability, because I'm interested to see what you choose. So anyone from the remaining 4, I think it is, you should all have 4 marked there. You can pick another one from the remaining 4. While you're doing that, I will fill the audience in on where we left this last time. Having returned from East Anglia in a previous session, last time our agents of Dee were commanded to seek a book, the Book of Dead Names, from the suggestion was that it was in the possession of a Humphrey Gilbert, a former seafarer, captain or owner of boats, not of ships, not entirely clear, but certainly a well-traveled man. This led them to Deptford, on the south bank of the Thames, and to the village outside Deptford Dock, where through a variety of methods, they have gained access to Humphrey Gilbert's house. The house is clearly not in use. And by accident almost, they stumbled upon a cellar, and from the cellar they have descended into the earth, some, as Maximilian has said, some 30, 40 feet down, to a network of tunnels. And as they have worked their way through these tunnels, they have stumbled across some rats behaving oddly. They have discovered what looks for all the world like a bird cage, a small silver bird cage. But it clearly, before it was crushed and broken, it held something, for there were glyphs of some kind upon this bird cage. And we will meet them again close to what appears to have been some sort of alchemical laboratory. Because I think as we open, previously on the Dee Sanction, we will have seen Titus Froste pick up a candle from this alchemist laboratory and disappear down a corridor with the light. We will see Friar Clark and Captain Slater with the other candle, the one that Theophilus brought with him, slaughtering rats, as we've heard. Meanwhile, Herr Schwartz has entered the alchemist's lab. It must be said, light in one direction is going away fast, Max, and the light behind you has not caught up with you yet. So you have very dim light and mostly your shadow to work in. So Max, what do you want to do in this alchemist's lab?
Just because the backstory ability that I'm unlocking is Herbalists Brewing.
Aha.
Because that seems like it might be useful in an alchemist's lab.
So, what are you wanting to? What do we see you doing? Are you investigating the lab? Are you trying to work out what's gone on here?
I'm looking around, and if I see something particularly interesting, I'm likely poking at it with my stick.
Okay, we see you. I'm going to assume at this point that Friar Clark and Captain Slater catch up the 10 or so paces to you where they have slaughtered some rats. And so the light gets slightly brighter, and what you see, Max, is a solid oak table with a variety of glassware, some of it smashed, some of it still containing some fluids. But on the wall to one side, now that the candle has arrived, you see a shelf of books.
I'm going to take a look at that shelf.
Okay, let's see what you make of it, shall we? Are you trying to get a supernatural feel of this, or are you trying to study it with an intellectual eye?
Alchemy may be the province of charlatans and tricksters, but the scientific method will save us. So I'm looking at it using my herbalist skills.
Fine. So that sounds like an intellectual exercise. You will gain advantage, a step up because of your herbalist skills. So that D6 for intellectual becomes a D8. Shall we see how that goes?
I would love to. Let's see if the dice room is any kinder to us today. That's a 4.
So I can tell you, I think, that these bookshelves, a variety of texts on alchemy, dissection and surgery. The Book of Dead Names is not among the texts.
Now remind me, at this point in European history, is dissection still frowned on?
I think that we're probably at the point where in Italy, felons are being dissected in the medical schools.
Okay.
I think here probably it may be heretics who are dissected. So I think dissection for the public good is probably okay. I don't think that they're robbing graves yet.
Gotcha. I didn't know if dissection was still the sort of thing that would get you burned at the stake or... Okay. So what can I detect from smelling? Are there any distinguishing smells from any of these fluids that are about?
Okay, let me come back to you before you do something else then, and say to Friar Clark, you come into this room that I've described. There is an archway leading out of it, and you can see light receding down there. Presumably Titus is setting off into the hollow hills. He's been very keen to get at the front of this group, and he's finally managed to get first down the corridor. So, Friar Clark, what do we see you doing?
Is there anything to look at that I can read? Probably, right?
The books, shelf of books.
Ooh.
They're on surgery and alchemy and dissection, says Max.
That's that is good. That is good, but that is not what we are looking for. We are looking for a book on a book on the occult. And I think I will try to use my knowledge of either occult lore or mythology to figure out what that book might look like.
Okay. So I think that this is probably an intellectual challenge. I think that this is trying to remember what do you know of the Book of Dead Names, etc. Yes?
Yes, that seems...
so that's a D8, but I think you have a step up for your occult lore.
Yeah.
So that's a D10.
Okay. I'm scared. It's a 4. Oh my God, it's a 4.
Wow. For our audience, Friar Clark last week continued to roll a 1 or a 2 most of the evening, particularly when rolling a D10, strangely.
Yes.
I think I can tell you that the Book of Dead Names is a book of necromancy. It is about death magic. It is about the animation of corpses. It is about the animating spirit. Does that seem like a reasonable answer to your question?
Yes, that seems like a reasonable answer to my question. And now I remember that, yes, it was on the tip of my tongue the whole time. I can't think of why I mislaid that thought. But which of you books here looks like you're on necromancy? You know, you look too happy, you look too scientific, you're dust.
Sadly not. The Book of Dead Names is not here, nor as you can think are any occult texts. So while Max is looking, is sniffing these various chemicals, and Theophilus Clark is examining the books, Captain Slater, what are you doing?
Well, I could start removing pictures from books, but there looks to be a lot of pictures in these books, and I can always come back to that. So with my dripping sword, I shall follow Titus further down the corridor.
I will
just tell these two, don't dawdle. There's not much candlelight.
I will tell you, Captain Slater, because you destroyed those kind of corrupted, contorted rats, that there are a number of kind of little pools of blood on the floor hereabouts. You know, just little more than spots of blood in one or two cases, but in some other cases, slightly larger, maybe hand-sized or palm-sized congealed blood.
Can I grab a bottle of sort of powdered anything when I pass through the lab?
Well, let me go to Max then, because Max is currently looking through these alchemical reagents. Max, you said you wanted to examine them with what intent?
If I can figure out what chemicals and what brews are being made, I might be able to figure out what was going on here.
Okay, yeah, then let us have you roll with advantage. I think it is. Are you wondering if this is a supernatural process, or are you wondering whether this is a scientific process that's at work? What are you wanting to find out?
Given the amount of scientific texts, or at least science adjacent texts we've seen, but also given the rats, I wonder if these brews are supernatural.
Let's treat this as a supernatural challenge. A D8 stepped up by your herbalism.
Alrighty. That's a 10.
I wish there was a benefit of getting the highest number that's available.
There is. It's not a failure.
Indeed so. Indeed so. Then I think I can tell you that I think it's to do with preservation. Maybe not pickling body parts or organic materials, but it's certainly to do with preserving them. Does that seem like a reasonable answer to your question?
So this is an early attempt at undertaking.
It could be necromancy.
Of course.
Right?
Because why wouldn't you want to be a necromancer?
It would fit with what Friar Clark has said about the Book of Dead Names, and it might fit with the fact that much of the text in this room are about anatomy in one kind or another. Yeah. Captain Slater, I think what I can tell you is that yes, there is a kind of jar of a whitish crystalline material. Would that do you?
Yeah, something I could tip on a pool of blood to sort of absorb it.
By all means.
So talcum powder, etc., etc.
I think this looks to you like salt or something similar.
They're not salting the bodies, are they? Because that is a kind of necromancy. You can reduce somebody to the salts.
I don't know. Are you likely to know? Would you like to roll to find out?
Yeah, let's roll to see if I.
What is your witch finding taught you about the supernatural? So this is a supernatural challenge, a D6. I'm not seeing.
Can I dance? Much.
No,
dance?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
No,
I'm not seeing anything that steps up there. So it's a straightforward D6.
It was worth a try.
It was.
A 4.
A 4. You are familiar with the idea of reducing people, shrinking them down. You've never seen a witch actually turn someone into their kind of component dusty bits. Though you have heard stories that that certain witches have animated bodies and kept them going until they literally crumbled to dust.
This guy's definitely going on my list. He's a witch.
Humphrey Gilbert is on Captain Slater's list. Okay.
He's on the list. So yeah, I'll storm off.
Follow
Titus.
Titus. Okay. Let me go to Titus then. So Titus, you've walked off down this corridor. As you are walking down, there is a distinct smell of rotting meat. You got a whiff of it earlier on, I think.
Yeah.
But whether it's the way the air moves in this place, but it's now much stronger, and a slight peculiar mechanical sound.
What can I see in front of me with the candle? Just further down the corridor, I suppose.
You can see a door that is ajar.
Is there any light coming from said door?
There is, when you move the candle away and kind of look again, there is a dim candlelight coming from that.
And then step inside.
And step inside.
Uh-huh.
Inside, there is a well-dressed man with his back to you, and he appears to be playing chess against himself. So his hand comes out and it grasps a piece and it goes, puts it down again, and then this hand goes out, picks another piece, puts that down again.
I mean, chess, clearly a game for a man of Titus's mental fortitude.
I would have thought chess. He understands that the knight cannot jump the bishop. There's a rule.
But instead, Titus steps towards the man and says, Humphrey Gilbert, I presume.
And he says, oh, thank God, kill me now.
Well, in time, sir, I have a friend who is probably more than happy to deal to accommodate you there. But first, I have been sent by a most important man to find a very specific book.
And I think that's when you notice that that mechanical sound I said described to you. It's coming from him, as is the scent of dead meat.
I give him, I pause as I trail off as I ask that question, and I squint at him and I say, "You quite well, sir."
So what, you go around so you can talk to the front of him?
Yeah, entirely, yeah.
Yes, and what you see is the front of his body has been opened up and replaced with what looks like a mechanical system of clockwork of some kind. Would you roll for unraveling? Please,
yeah, I was about to
Titus?
say it's unraveling time, isn't it? That's a D8, I think, for me, or is it a D6? I can't.
Let's have a look. Where are you at? It is currently a D8.
Yeah, I don't think I've failed a.
And can I just say, I did notice that you were asking about fortune. I think I'm prepared to let fortune come back on a sessional basis, but I don't think you can get the angelic favor back until you have completed a mission. Okay?
That makes sense to me. Yeah, Dr. D gives you back your thing. Fortune is kind of a metagame mechanic, right? I got an 8 on my unraveling.
So you do not unravel.
No, no.
But clearly, this is and his head is held in a collar that connects to all. So he is rigidly set. The only thing that can move are his hands, which again are largely run by kind of metal struts that come out, and so he's moving his hands in a particularly mechanical way. Now you come to look at him.
It's like a human mechanical Turk kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Titus, is like speechless for a second. Then he says, "How brilliant! How ingenious, Sir Gilbert."
And his eyes kind of widen. This is I am Clement. I was my master's servant until he did this to me.
Oh.
I have served him honorably.
Oh, well, that is not fair. Sport, Mr. Clement, was it?
Aye, Clement. Please,
Clement,
give me rest. Give me rest.
I'd like to imagine that Tobias is probably following up through the door, and as the footsteps go up the corridor, I say, well, in but a moment, I'm sure you will be accommodated, sir, but the Book of Dead Names and Sir Gilbert, where are we? Which way?
There is only one way out of this room.
Well,
there is a
then
door at 90 degrees to the one you came through.
And I point that way. Would I find the Book of Dead Names and Sir Gilbert this way?
I do not know where he has gone. Once the magic came alive, I believe he will have concluded his experiments. I was but a stepping stone.
Most interesting.
And that's when Slater arrives.
Yes.
Max, let's go back to you. Do you want to do anything else in the alchemist room, or do you want to follow Captain Slater?
Are there any books that might prove useful to me?
You could certainly just take a couple of books on, surgery and dissection and add those to your, they might come in handy. Add them to your possessions, other incidentals picked up in passing.
Sure.
Friar Clark. Max, it looks like, has taken what he takes to be the pick of these little books.
Oh, I will take a few of them, the ones that look valuable, because I don't care about this body stuff. The body is but the vessel for the soul anyway, and not of any great import. But still, the body must be fed to house the soul while we are on this benighted earth. So to accommodate this mundane goal, I will take the books that look kind of valuable.
I understand that the Queen has reduced the pensions that her father claimed to pay clergy when they were put on the road after the monasteries were destroyed.
Well,
So clearly, Theophilus is in need. So yeah, by all means, add 2 books on surgery and dissection. So Tobias, you enter the room. You see what Titus sees. Would you roll for unraveling, please?
Of course. Seven.
Fine. So you do not unravel, but it is a grisly sight.
Did you say a dirty Turk?
A mechanical Turk.
Is this a dirty Turk I smell in front of me?
Oh dear.
I'm going to X-card that one.
Yeah.
We're not going there.
Please,
we're not going there, please.
But yes, it made me chuckle a bit. But anyways, Titus says, Sir Slater, you are just the man. This poor soul wishes to be put out of his misery.
What evil witchcraft has happened here?
Oh, he
Clearly,
is a victim,
a subject of the witchcraft. Must be expunged.
My master, he drugged me, and when I awoke, I found myself like this.
How long ago?
We shall avenge you then. We shall avenge you. We shall avenge you, my friend.
And what was that, Titus?
I asked how long.
I have lost all sense of time. Yon candle was quite tall, but I feel he drugged me days ago. He said that the Fae were awake again.
I glance at the candle. The candles, I mean, we're talking at most a day or so, aren't we? If it's a long candle, maybe.
It's quite a thick candle.
Okay, so it could be multiple days.
It could be several days.
Yeah, but we're not talking months at least, or like.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And remind me, when were you on the road to Norwich?
About a week ago, right?
Yeah, it could be a week.
Yeah, interesting. But at the mention of the Fae, Titus leaps up and says, well, be about it, Slater, we must be off.
And I think that is when Max and Theophilus arrive. Slater, it appears, is about to see off this poor wretch. Friar Clark, what is your reaction to seeing poor Clement? Or would you prefer not to see Clement and have him already dead?
No, I will see him.
Okay, then let me have you roll unraveling before we do anything else then.
Okay, what do I need to roll here?
Your unraveling is a D8, and as with the mechanics across the piece, a 1 or 2 is to falter.
Okay, that's a D10. No, I want a D8. Go away, D10. Nobody wants you. It's a 6.
So you do not unravel, and you see what I've described, this hollow man, sustained, it appears, by some kind of magic. Max, let me check Max, whether he wants to just have Slater kill him first, or whether he wants to see him alive.
I think I want to see him alive.
Okay, I'll come back to you in a moment for unraveling. Sorry, Friar Clark.
Yes, I will cross myself and I will attempt to stop Slater and say, wait, this man needs to have a chance for a confession first before he goes to the great beyond. Before his soul becomes one with God, and he should have the opportunity to set himself free of his sins.
I can't imagine a Jesuit is going to interfere with that. Are you, Slater?
No, make it quick, my mechanical friend.
Max, let's have you roll to unravel. You are already slightly unraveled, so you're only rolling a D6.
Oh, okay. Fun.
Oh.
Okay. That's 2.
Oh, no. You have unraveled down to D4, and let us see what condition you inherit, because at the minute you are crabbed.
Am I still bruised?
You are still bruised, I'm afraid. Yes, you will be bruised until you have a chance to kind of have a decent rest. So
okay.
The immediate effect is roll a D8.
Let's see what this gives us. 5.
More yellow bile. So character you are still filled with bitter rage towards all allies while in the presence of the source of fear. So while you're in here, you are a bad-tempered old man. Who will notice the difference? Take a chance, act in a selfish way, on a falter, attitude persists for present. Okay, so as long as you're in this room, you are going to be loud and filled with bitter rage. But on the longer term, would you roll a D6?
Sure. That gets me a 3.
You are now, as well as being crabbed, which is prone to sharp change in emotional state, short-tempered, sharp, and loud, you are now choleric, eager for conflict, with a simmering hostility towards everyone and everything.
Again, who will notice the difference?
So go ahead.
I look at this poor man. Say, God in heaven, what the devil happened to you?
My master betrayed me. I have become but an experiment for him.
I'm going to look him square in the eye and say, I am old and I am tired. And I fear that I am not long for this world, which, to be honest, is welcome. But I swear that before I leave this earth, I will see your master precede me.
Oh, that my master had accepted his fate to die, and he had not embarked upon this heretical quest for life everlasting.
Make your peace with God.
Friar Clark.
That is the only life everlasting that any of us will have.
You will take his confession?
Yeah, I will take his confession. I will shoo the others away a little, because the man, what is between a man and God, his God is for a priest to hear, but not for everybody. Go.
and I see you kneeling beside him, you know, with facing one direction. He's facing the table where he is locked in place. Still, bizarrely, the mechanics of his hand are moving the chess pieces as he plays against himself, or the mechanical mechanism plays against itself. Who can be certain? And he says, forgive me, Father. I have sinned mightily. I turned away from the old faith, and I embraced the new faith, and as but a boy, and I wish I had stayed with the true church, that I might face everlasting joy in heaven. For I have been a bad man. I have done bad things. I have stolen from my master. I have killed for my master. I trusted my master. That is my greatest sin.
Well, I will be distracted a little by the chess pieces because that's an interesting game. But I will. I mean, but I've been doing this for a while, so I say whatever he needs to hear. I'm not Catholic myself, so I've never done this, but I will say what he needs to hear. That well, I can hardly give him penance because he's dying, but all his death will be penance for all if he truly regrets in his heart. In nomine blah blah blah, bit of Latin. Bit of Latin never goes wrongly, and then I will step back and say
thank you for that absolution, Father.
Of course, my son
Tobias,
Captain Slater.
a good Catholic given absolution. Are you telling me you're going to kill him in cold blood?
I'm going to cut his head off because that's what he asked for.
Okay. I think I need you to just roll unraveling. You're a Jesuit, for God's sake. You're about to kill a man who has returned to the Catholic Church.
Killing people is okay, just not killing yourself. But yeah, I'm more than happy to roll. Yeah, you can kill other people in Catholicism. You just can't kill
Other
yourself.
Catholics.
I mean, you can confess to it afterwards. So
7.
Then you strike him, and the head severs apart from where the metal collar. So you take him above that metal collar that was holding the chest and body in place, and the head spills on the floor. There is little blood, but I will tell you, Tobias, that as the blood just wells out, it doesn't spurt, but it wells out and flows down the neck in little rivulets. You would swear, Tobias, that those rivulets were twisting around one another, not just following gravity into his...
Let's apply the salt.
Okay, if in doubt, apply the salt.
Yep.
Fine, you pour some salt onto the blood. It doesn't flow for long.
Yeah, hopefully that's what congealed it. Yeah, I'm just worried that it could seep into something.
Well, to an extent, it has seeped into the collar of his jacket and his clothing.
Acceptable.
Titus.
Onwards.
Titus moved on. Max, you will have followed Titus, I think, because Friar Clark was giving absolution, and Tobias stayed to release the man.
I would like to check really quickly. Does the blood give any kind of indication of having any of the chemicals that I saw in the alchemy lab in it?
Oh, that's an interesting question. That sounds like an intellectual challenge, and I would allow your various varieties of herbalism to give you advantage. However, I think that your general bad temper and lack of patience will act as a disadvantage. So I think there's a net no change. D6 intellectual.
Okay. That's 1.
Oh, so you get there and you smell at this trying to identify. I'm going to take bruised away. I think it is fair that you fell over a little while ago. I think bruised is gone.
Okay.
And bitter rage is gone because the source of this fearful sight is now ended. because with his decapitation, the chess game has also stopped. But as you smell the blood, behind the salt that Tobias has scattered over it to try and soak it up, there is something odd about that blood. And then a tendril of it tries to spike your eye. What do you do?
I'm going to jump backward as quickly as I possibly can.
I thought you would. Let's have you roll a physical challenge.
Because as we know, physical challenges are my best. So I'm starting with a D4, I believe.
You are. I've taken bruised away. I'm leaving you with crabbed.
Yeah, sorry about that. I deleted the wrong one.
Okay.
My bad. So with crab, does that affect, is that just my emotional state?
I think that being as angry as you are and as physically enraged as you are, I think that gives you advantage.
Okay. I will not argue that.
Is there anything, I don't think there's anything else at play, so go for that.
All right, so that brings me up to a D6. And that is a 3.
There isn't much of it because Tobias forced a lot of it to be absorbed by this salt. But literally, just where there was a little dribble of blood on the neck, on the collar that was holding the body in place, as you went in to smell it, it literally lifted up and tried to get to your eye. That's not usual.
Herr Slater, we should burn this body.
True. A fire underground, though, is slightly dangerous to us. Yeah.
So
do you want to check the chambers? Is there any sort of chemical fire we could apply to him from the alchemy lab?
That's a good question.
I mean, it's unlike Tobias to come up with such a creative solution, but Max, I'm going to say that you think you could make some kind of incendiary device, or at least you could make an intellectual challenge.
Okay.
Construct something.
All right, D8 because of all the brewing.
It will take you some time. Because you're going to have to go back up to the lab, mix some stuff together, bring it back down here, blah, blah, blah.
He's been there for some time. I think we'll be okay.
There are people behind us. We cannot allow this evil to spread.
True, but we have stopped them somewhat. I'll stand guard.
Hang on, Friar Clark.
Is this the blood that the rats drank?
Well, it's impossible to say. It could be. You found a blood trail in that corridor that the rats lapped at and changed. You found Tobias has found another, couple of drops and a little patch of blood on the way to this room. There is now blood here.
Oh, interesting, very interesting. That is quite the interesting substance, and I feel that it would be better if we did not expose those who followed us to this substance, because judging by what it did to the rats, I do not want these ruffians to be attacked by this and then maybe change as the rats did. That seems unwise. So I'm with Herr Schwartz on this.
Okay. Max, is that good enough in terms of support? Because
that's good enough for me.
Friar Clark does have a candle.
Yes.
So you'd have light to work in back in the alchemy lab.
And also, I would like to take the chessboard. I always wanted a chessboard. I will put out one of the books that I've grabbed because I have limited space.
I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to take the chess pieces. I'm going to say that the chessboard is inlaid into the table.
Okay, I'll take the pieces. That's the most
important thing. I'll take the table. Okay.
No, I'm not taking the table. I would have to carry the table. I mean, I'm not a small guy, but still.
Just sweep the pieces into your a pocket inside your robe.
Yes.
And go back with Max to brew up some kind of incendiary mixture.
Yeah.
Captain Slater, do you stay here? Do you go back with Friar Clark, or do you follow Titus?
I think I'm going to have to shout to Titus, saying, hold hard, Titus. There's more work back here, and then I will follow the other two to the alchemy lab and stare at pictures.
Titus?
Yeah.
Do you continue on your own?
I heard that fool say something, but there's Fae to be found down here. I don't care what the others are playing around with. We're here to find a book, and I'm also here to find the Fae.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So you carry on up the corridor?
Of course,
with
yes.
With your candle?
I mean, I'm imagining I was like long gone by the time anyone else came in there.
You will find a hole in the floor, which you will match up to what you encountered below when you saw a hole in the ceiling. And as you hold the candle about, because I think you went up and had a look, I think that you will recognize the view is where you are now.
And this was the candlelight that I could see before was probably the candlelight that I could see from that room. Okay, well, onwards then.
The tunnel again, this, I think I've described it before. It's a brick-lined, barrel-vaulted tunnel. It's no more than a meter or so across, and you carry on. It takes some turns. It turns back on itself, then turns again. So you're now out of sight and pretty much out of sound of the others. But you can hear what again sounds like something heavy moving. And a voice arguing.
Well, I extinguish my candle once more and creep forward in the darkness, hand rubbing, following the tunnel walls.
In the complete darkness.
Well, I have picked up the skill night work as a scavenger.
Well, there you go. Night working, so you're better in the dark than everybody else. Okay, so you're edging forward with your hand on the wall, just feeling your way forward. Okay.
Yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? Like as I come closer to the voices, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I won't do it when they're a faint whisper a mile away. I'll do it as I get closer to them.
You can hear this. There is a conversation going on. I will tell you that. Let's go back to Max mixing up something incendiary, shall we? You certainly, again, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give disadvantage for your choleric and crabbed, angry lack of patience. You're not in the best mood for careful chemical construction. So, so I think this is an intellectual challenge. You will have a disadvantage due to those consequences, but herbalism will cancel that out.
So I'm rolling flat.
You're rolling flat. D6.
Okay. And it occurs to me that I think I'd like to try to make some kind of acid as opposed to an incendiary device. Okay. Just because that I know that will absolutely unravel whatever this nonsense is.
Okay.
Also, it's probably less dangerous to us.
Let's find out.
That's a 5.
Oh, fine. So you have conjured up from these bits and pieces of alchemical material and a glass alembic of some description, enough acid to pour over poor Clement's body, and basically the reek as the acid bites into this body and the metallic parts of it. But I think I am prepared to say that you will have neutralized the blood threat from the body. Okay.
And I will look at Herr Clark and Herr Slater and say, thank you. This needed to be done. I'm grateful that you stayed with me to make sure that we put this poor soul to rest in a way that wouldn't allow others to come to harm.
And then the collar bubbles up and you say, because if you hadn't, I'd have beaten your fucking heads in. And we are at just past 5 to the hour, so I'm going to suggest that we take a break. I need to make a cup of tea, so shall we be back in our seats at 5 past the hour? I will pause the recording until then. Okay, we're back. Let's cut to Titus in the dark, edging forward as what appears to be, I would now go so far as to say, an angry conversation.
Well, what pray tell can I hear from said angry conversation?
Let's see what you can hear. You know, so I think that's an intellectual challenge.
Of course, so many of these things are intellectual challenges. My night work skill?
Night work will up it, but I think that the distraction of your bad back. I'm going to get rid of bark chins, but I'm going to keep you with a bad back for a while.
Okay.
Indeed, it is the age of reason. Yes. So yeah, I think you're rolling flat unless you've got something to offer me.
I have good boots, which will allow me to approach carefully and quietly.
And be closer than otherwise you might have been. Okay, yes. I can't resist crediting good boots. I'm waiting for opportunity to credit Captain Slater's flashy hat. So okay, then roll one up, D6.
So that's D6. That is a 2.
There is something, you can feel it winding round your leg in the dark. What do you do, Titus?
I mean, honestly, I think the way that Titus discovers this is that he takes a step forward and he can't. You know, that there's something is holding his leg.
Exactly, and first of all, it felt just like a piece of rope maybe around his ankle, but you can now feel a number of pieces of rope, almost like vines maybe, rising up around his calf towards his knee.
Well,
over his good boots.
Over his good boots. He slips them off.
And pulls his feet out of his good boots. And scampers away into the darkness.
Now barefoot, which is even better.
Indeed. Let's hope it's not sharp down here. Okay. Back to our colleagues who are with Theophilus has a candle. There was, I will remind you, a largish candle in the room. So who else has picked up a candle? Max or Captain Slater? Captain Slater, do you take the front, the rear, or the middle? You're a man of some substance. I think you'd make the decision.
Clearly, a witch locator leads from the front.
Okay. Followed by Theophilus and Max. We'll argue the toss about who's at the back, if it matters. And so you go down this corridor with with the candle, Captain. And as I described to Titus, the corridor turns back on itself, goes through several turnings, and then you find a pair of boots standing in a pool of blood. Let's cut to Titus. Titus, there is now light ahead. Do you accelerate towards the light, or does that slow you down?
I think it's a steady pace of, like it doesn't slow him down because he knows that he can probably still hear those boots being pulled down the corridor behind him, right? So yeah, I think it speeds him up actually because it gives him it stops him from having to just completely feel his way through, right? Like Fine. It provides some sort of light to navigate by.
And you're coming to a corner around which some light is spilling. And I think you can see that there are some pools, little patches of blood in the corridor, in the passageway. And now you look down, you realize that, where you thought you were just treading on something cold, you were treading on blood. So you're leaving some bloody footsteps. Oh, you are muted.
Good. It's like breadcrumbs, you know?
You won't get lost.
Yeah.
And then you come round a corner to see a most bizarre sight. And the bizarre sight, I will read this because I think it is sufficiently bizarre. I've lost him. Where's he gone? Oh, where has he gone? Ah, yes. So you see clearly a well-dressed gentleman in the light of a brazier. And this well-dressed gentleman is actually enclosed in what looks like a gilded metal framework. It looks like Mark II compared to what you saw with Clement playing chess. The difference is that in the just off center of his chest, just over his heart, all the pieces of this metal framework that encases his limbs up to his neck, where there would normally perhaps be a ruff, there is a metal ring holding his neck in place, holding his head stiff. All the pieces of metal seem to lead to a ring over his heart. And that is who he seems to be talking to. For there is a tendril, I will describe it, of blood that emerges from the center of that ring to a peculiar creature who is dancing around in front of him, mocking him. The creature appears to be made of blood, twisting, rivulets of blood made solid and twisting around.
Is that an unraveling check?
That's an unraveling check, yeah.
Mm-hmm. 2. Finally got one.
Are you unraveled?
Yeah, I got 2.
Okay, so let's have you roll a d8 to see which humor is affected by this horrid sight.
I mean, the Fae are clearly much more disgusting than I had hoped to be.
It wasn't
right?
like this in the books.
Yeah.
This isn't what the Hollow Hills people told you.
There's a 5.
Oh, yellow bile. You are filled with bitter rage toward all allies while in the presence of the source of fear.
Well, luckily there's no one around. Can it be cheeky enough for a reroll just so we can see something else on the table?
And let's do that. Yeah. Let's have a reroll because we're getting bored with yellow bile.
Yeah. I think we've rolled it like 6 times in the course of this thing. There's a 4.
4, black bile.
Okay.
Overwhelmed by extreme emotion, eyes filled with tears, body racked by sobbing. You will have to take a chance. It's a random chance, odd or even, to complete any complex action in the presence of this source of fear.
Oh,
right?
well, tears streaming down my face at the blasphemy and the, like the see such works. Is this the truth, the hidden knowledge of the Fae?
And then roll a d6 to see what the ongoing consequence is.
A 3.
Afeared, prone to tip into panic and alarm at the smallest trigger. I think, Tobias, you hear a scream followed by sobbing.
Can I suggest I run down that corridor the way I came?
Fine. Out of the darkness, Tobias, runs a screaming Titus. What do you do?
Titus.
Such horrors as I have seen.
Hold hard, Mr. Frost. What ails you, my man?
'Tis puck, but puck of blood and flesh. The Mark II, it is down there. It is Gilbert, and it's made of his blood. Do you see? It's made of his blood.
And at that point, Titus, you look down where the candlelight is illuminating the bloody footsteps that you have led up this corridor and back. Blood! Max, what's your reaction to this?
I'm going to slap Titus across the face and say, "Get hold of yourself."
Let's see how that goes. I think that's a physical challenge.
Feels like it.
But I will give you advantage because you're choleric and crabbed. That is absolutely the right thing to do. So that's a D6. I don't think there are any downsides to that. Roll a D6.
That's a 2.
You step in a puddle of blood. You step forward, focused on him, slap him around the face. Titus, that fear goes, but you are sorry, that immediate sense of strong emotion goes, but you are still afeared. But Max, you just trod in a pool of blood as well, because you would swear that when Titus ran down the corridor into the candlelight, you saw his feet were bloody, but there wasn't a pool of blood around them that you just trod in.
Yeah, he slaps me and I come to, and then we have that moment of like looking down. Then there's like a step of the splash of the puddle, and I just look.
The blood is just spreading very slightly from where you were standing. Friar Clark, what make you of this?
I think I feel that this is a situation in which a wise man would step back and let others who are more suited to these violent endeavors, take their
step
moment.
away from the problem.
A little, and also keep my eyes open for a book of their names, because that's why we're here.
Of course.
Or maybe you know what, while they're busy with each other, I might step forward and see what has Mr. Frost so scared, because I feel I am a man of intellect and I'm not that easily.
Okay. Titus, you need to reduce your unraveling from D8 to D6 because you failed that roll. Fine, Friar Clark takes his candle up the corridor, past where all this kerfuffle is going on. But yes, that bloody footprint has just begun to well up more blood. Tobias, what do you do?
Well, I'll say to Mr. Frost, as a man of England, stop holding your manhood so cheap. Onwards, my friend.
So you're not worried about the fact that blood appears to be welling out of the ground around Titus?
Well, myself, I didn't understand it, so there's no way Tobias will understand it. That's way too intellectual.
Max, what about you?
I curse. And by curse, I mean I start cursing.
Oh, go on. Are we? What is this intended to achieve?
I am angry that Herr Frost took off running along without us and has now left us in this mess. It is his fault that we are literally standing in this mess.
And does that? You're kind of bawling out to poor old Titus. Titus, what are you doing?
I think I shove Max back because I have no, not in the mood for any of this old man's grumpiness anymore. Frankly. And I shove him back and I clutch to Mr. Slater and I say, "Witches, witches." And I hope that goads him into leading the way up the corridor.
Onwards.
Titus, you know that sensation you got when you left your boots behind?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you look down, you can see tendrils of blood beginning to defy gravity and flow up over your foot.
Mm. Well, I think that's the point where I snatch them up and push past Herr Maximilian and continue up after the witch hunt.
Max, you saw that happen. You saw these tendrils of blood emerge from this pool of blood and begin to make its way up Titus's foot. What do you do?
I'm going to push him out of the pool of blood.
Fine, you help him on his way, and then follow them.
And it is the least worst idea at this point.
Not least because the other three each have a candle and you do not. So Titus, I'm going to assume that you light your candle from Tobias's and follow on up. Tobias, Friar Clark, round the corner into I think it's a roughly circular space actually, in which this bizarre sight meets you. This dandified gentleman in a framework, a gilded metal framework, with blood, a tendril of blood running from the center of his chest to a pool on the floor. And out of that pool on the floor is emerging a creature. There's rather a nice illustration of said creature emerging from a pool of blood. I think that calls for an unraveling, Theophilus.
Yes, probably. It's probably more scary in the dark. Yes, I rolled a 1, so it's very...
you have unraveled. So unraveling goes down to D6.
Unraveled. This I did not expect.
And roll a D8 to see what the immediate effect is on your humors.
I've got a 5.
Oh, roll again. We're not having any more yellow bile.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm rolling a D10, so that...
Oh, that might explain.
That might explain why I rolled a 9 now. I've rolled a 7.
Oh, your blood humor.
Ooh.
Inadvisably optimistic, despite the horrors or difficult situation faced. Blindly positive. Act of violence or aggression are one step down, while in the presence of the fear source. So, this is amazing.
Wow, yeah, that is one step closer to God's truth, I feel. And I say, hello, good sir.
Roll a D6 for the ongoing consequence.
Oh yeah, the ongoing consequence. I will do that. It's another 5.
5. Capricious, given to sudden, unpredictable and erratic change in focus. So would you write capricious in as a consequence?
Yes, I have.
And what do you say to this gentleman? I will tell you that he's clearly the same gentleman as you saw some paintings of earlier.
Gilbert was the name, right?
Gilbert
I will say
Humphrey Gilbert.
I will say good day, Master Gilbert. That is a very interesting experiment that you are conducting here. Might I know what this is in service of? And do you have the book of dead names? I'm looking for that.
That damn book! That damn book is the cause of all my ills. And he lunges towards you. It is described as like a wild animal driven mad by pain. So I think you need to duck and dive, Theophilus. So a physical task.
Oh no!
At -1 dice, isn't it?
Say again.
Is it a -1?
I'm at a disadvantage, right? Because
you are at a disadvantage because this is not what you expected.
Okay, I feel that flattery won't help me here. Maybe my candle will, though, because I can wave it at him.
Oh, try to see him off with a candle. Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, go away. No. Bad person, so I'm rolling d6. Okay, come on. Roll. It's a 3.
You evade him, but he is kind of coming after you.
Oh, this is fun.
You run back the way you've come.
But I'm looking for this book, and he's slower than I am. Probably.
There is a passageway leaving behind him. But you'd have to get past him to get to that, Theophilus.
Yeah, no, I'm not that nimble. I think, maybe. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll lead him to the others where clearly he is a witch. Master Slater will take care of him, and I can go look for the book. That is brilliant. I
Okay.
am brilliant.
So yeah, of course you are, and that's the most obvious idea. And so what, you kind of make a face at him and set off back the way you've come. Where this great kind of hulking creature kind of clumps after you.
And I will shout, "Hello! I found the warlock or the
Tobias,
sorcerer."
does this encourage you into a run, Tobias?
Yes, I think a reasonable jog. I don't want a full sprint, but I will encourage the two behind me.
Cutlass in one hand, big candle in the other.
Yes.
And you go round the corner to find Friar Clark just skidding past you and pursued by bear, pursued by hulking gentlemen in a gilded metal framework.
Stop running for the hills, Theophilus. It's an Iron Maiden.
Oh.
Well, I leave the maiden to you. I'm sworn to celibacy anyway.
What are you going to do,
What of the
Tobias?
blood beast? What of the blood beast?
The blood beast is scampering along behind. It's like an umbilical of blood that runs from the center of this of Gilbert's chest to this creature.
Very well. I will use my saber on Gilbert, but I will shout backwards to. I think actually the man I am got to shout back to is Herr Maximilian, saying, "Grab the salts, deal with the beast," and I will attempt to skewer Gilbert.
Fine. Okay. So let's have you roll.
Unravel first?
Oh yes, do unravel first. Yes, please.
Of course. Yeah. When you've got so many mechanics, you should try and use them all.
I know. If only I could remember them.
A 6. This is just sheer witchcraft.
Yeah. Used to this. So you don't unravel, Tobias, but you are rolling a physical task. Your cutlass gives you a step up, but Humphrey in this form gives an automatic step down.
Fair one. I still roll a D8.
You do.
Here we go. Let's see what we get. Oh no, it's a 1.
It's a 1. Okay. Roll me a D8 to see what the consequences to you are.
Or could I use my fortune to re-roll that?
You could.
Yes. I will use my fortune. I
Mark
think we're
fortune and re-roll.
Exactly the halfway point. A good time to use it. Okay, here we go. Re-roll. So the 1 now becomes a 6. That's a better skewer.
I'll roll a D8 to see whether he resists. He doesn't resist. You do a 1 hit on Humphrey. So I will make a note of that. Max, the impression you got was that Tobias is expecting you to deal with the blood beast.
We live in an age of reason.
It's difficult to believe that at this point.
Tunnels far below the earth, facing something that is emerging from a pool of blood and intends to do us harm. Remind me, Humphrey has a metal cage about him, yes?
It's a framework. It's a bit like that kind of mechanical structure that was around Clement. But yes, yeah. Think of it as an exoskeleton of sorts. A very early Iron Man.
Do we have any idea what this exoskeleton does? If it's keeping him alive, giving him extra strength, faster reflexes, anything like that?
I don't think you've seen enough of him to draw a conclusion yet. It's certainly it's making him angry, and he's clearly, well, as I think I said, behaves like a wild animal driven mad by pain. And clearly, you know, were he to fetch someone a blow with these metal gauntleted hands that are attached to metal driving frames, It wouldn't be good.
Right. I'm using my favor of the angels.
I wondered if you might. To corrode, discolor, dulled, or brittle. Yeah?
Yep.
I think if you use that, what I will do is I will treat any successful hit on Humphrey as doing double damage to this framework as it gets more brittle. I take it your cast, it's just to make this framework more brittle.
Yep. I mean, unless I can make it just started rusting at a very accelerated rate and fall to pieces about him right now.
It's not that kind of magic, I think.
Okay.
I think that you weaken it. Yeah?
It's fair. So
okay,
I will go ahead
so
and mark off
that as used.
Yes.
And Titus. It's left that room. It's coming towards you.
I lunge forward with a scream, wielding my shovel, and I try and crack that ring.
Around the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're aiming for that. I'm gonna give that another 1 down for an aim shot.
Okay, sure.
I think that seems fair. So your D6 will drop 1 because
D4.
it's Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
It'll drop another 1, which goes from a D4 to a below that, which means basically it's a matter of luck. You have your shovel, that takes it back up to D4.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything else you can think of?
The size of his head. I'm just disappointed I haven't got a chance to use phrenology for anything.
I mean, you could aim to climb up him and examine the lumps on his head. I was vaguely hoping that you would do that with Clement.
Oh, I know, but he was as good as dead. No, I think that's everything. And what does Favor of the Angels do again?
Well, you use it, and yours is drip. It trickle, leak, or perplex.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, a leak, a leak of blood, one might wonder. Like perhaps this blood beast is tethered right through the blood going through this ring. This is a mechanism of which seems to be all guiding blood and so forth, right?
Okay.
With it, if it was to spring a leak in a place that it was not meant to, perhaps.
Okay. I will allow you to have the blood beast begin to leak blood.
Yeah, sure. I'll go with that. Yeah.
That seem fair?
Yeah, the cohesiveness is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will therefore do some harm to it.
I think as I pray to the angels.
Indeed. Yeah, and I think, if an angel's going to listen, it's going to listen in these circumstances. So we've corroded a bit of the metal. We've caused the blood beast to take a bit of a leak. I'll come to Friar Clark in a moment. First of all, let me go to Tobias, who hacks at Gilbert again.
Indeed. I am still perplexed though why the angels would listen to a barefoot dung smuggler, but that's by and by.
So physical is D8. Cutlass makes it D10. He gives you an automatic 1 down, so you're back to D8.
Excellent. 4.
A 4. So you do another hit on Gilbert. Lost my piece of paper. There he is. Right.
It is, isn't it? It is to be. It's an excellent one.
And yeah, so you're hacking at it, and you make a dent in part of the framework. There's no question about
and I
that.
definitely noticed that it is now more brittle.
Yes,
it's giving way a lot more.
Maybe one of the bands that runs down from his shoulder across to the heart. You hit it, and rather than it bending, it actually snaps. Yeah,
superb.
The Friar Clark.
The salts.
Friar Clark, you have run past them, I think.
No. I've run past them, and now I'm trying to get beyond this kerfuffle and back into the room where
Oh,
I came from, because
okay,
that was the
yes.
plan all along.
It was. I think that's a physical task to get, because you can probably get past Gilbert, but then the blood beast is hopping about in the background. So let's have you undertake a physical task to skip past them.
And I feel that I'm very good at navigation. That will help me here, right?
Okay, and I'm going to give you 1 down.
Oh
I
no!
think.
Why?
For
'Cause he doesn't
your
like your
capricious
one-up.
nature, because
Fair.
you know this seemed a good idea when you got back here, but is it still a good idea? You know, I'm not certain anymore.
Oh,
So you're
or
rolling
it's-
flat, I
okay.
think.
I'm rolling flat. Yeah, I'm not rolling this. I'm rolling this. And no, it's a 1.
Oh, the blood beast. The blood beast strikes at you. Roll a d8 to see what it does.
Oh, nice. I'm very curious what it does. I've rolled a 2.
2. As you run into it.
Oops.
You know, it's skipping about behind, and you miss time, and the effect is blood. 0 hit stun to you, but it is spattered. Spattered, not swipe. It is immune to mundane edged weapons. An edged weapon just passes through it, and you just run through it and realize that it is insufficiently solid to be hurt by a typical weapon.
I don't want to hurt it. I want to find the Book of Dead Names.
And you're past it, yeah? Max.
Now I'm running for those salts.
Back the way you came.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm grabbing a candle along the way. I may just, I mean, Herr Clark is already ahead
hands
of
his
us.
candle to you, I think. He sent you on this mission.
So I am running back through these tunnels, back to where we found the salts to get more of them.
Okay.
Because,
okay.
and actually, when I say more, I mean I'm going to get every last bit of them that I can find, because this seems like it may require quite a substantial amount.
Fine. So you are running to get as many, any powdered materials at all, really, and just gathering them up. That's going to take more than a couple of actions. I'll warn you now, because you've come quite a, you know, maybe 50, 60, 100 yards from there. So, so it'll take a little while to get back, collect, come back. So, Titus, do you take your shovel to Gilbert?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Which I think we established would be a D4 in the end, right?
I think it's a D4.
Unless the weakening of the blood beast has done anything to...
Sadly not.
No, sadly not.
I was going to ask if you wanted to have
it.
a go at the blood beast, but given what you've just seen happen when
Yeah,
ran into it, I think you've put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, well, I was wondering about the bludgeoning versus piercing damage thing, right? But we're not playing D&D, so that is 4.
So you inflict a hit unless he can resist it, which is a D8. Let me roll that dice. He doesn't resist it. You inflict another point of harm on Humphrey Gilbert as you crack through some more of this brittle framework surrounding his body. Max is busy running. Theophilus, the terrible news I have to share with you is that the blood beast is pursuing you. Tobias.
Okay.
I take it you're heading anywhere you can get that might have a book in it.
I'm heading back to the room where Gilbert was.
Fine. All that's there is a brazier, but there was an archway on the opposite side leading to another space or another tunnel. So, Tobias, do you attack Humphrey? The blood beast, as it heads up the corridor, you see it almost kind of run into the floor. And there's a puddle of blood on the floor, and the umbilical from that puddle comes back to Humphrey, but the blood beast has gone.
We've got a plan. I've got faith in Max. So yeah, I'm happy to bludgeon the Iron Maiden.
Fine, go for it. I think we decided that it's a D8, down 1,
6.
up 1. 6.
Yep, 6.
You inflict another point of harm on Humphrey Gilbert.
Well, 2 points. You said it did double damage. Now he's brittle.
Oh, of course I did. Yes, yes.
So mine and Will's hit,
yes,
and my previous
sorry.
hit did double.
Then the
He's taken a good whacking.
The framework cracks open and begins to spring apart from that bit around his heart. And the framework springs apart, and the body inside flops to the ground. Titus, what do you do?
I think I'm still afraid, right? And this beast has left.
Yes.
I leap with my knee, my knees atop his chest, and I grab him and I yell in his face, "The book, Gilbert! Where's the book?"
The cursed book was of no use to me at all until suddenly the magic came back. The magic, the Fae, they have returned. Some fools have released them.
And I think that's when you see that terrified look goes into a sort of slightly crazed smile at those words, I think.
Theophilus, you've made it to the brazier, and you're there. Do you search that room? I'll tell you now, it's not a very big circular room with a brazier and no furniture.
I mean, I have a blood beast that's running after me, right?
That's what you saw. The last time we looked over your shoulder, it was heading your direction.
I need to find the book. Where are you? I'm looking, but I'm running. I keep walking. I keep moving. Yes, but I'm keeping my eyes peeled because book, dead names, necromancy. I mean, that's not a good Christian value, but still.
But still, book. An important one in the context. What you do notice is that there's a pool of blood on the threshold of the arch to the next room. There is no book in this room.
Well, I guess, I mean...
And that's when the blood beast begins to emerge from it.
Is this the same or another? I can't tell them apart. But I could run through one. Maybe I can run through 2 of them.
Why don't you give that a go?
I mean, I imagine Theophilus is a hefty dude, right? He's not small or delicate or anything, and he eats more than a good Christian, maybe. Not austerity is not for him.
The D6, I think I'm going to knock that down to D4 for capricious.
Okay.
Do you have anything that might put it back up to D6?
I still have that. I have a cutlass that doesn't help me, but I still have the candle.
A cutlass might. You could strike at it.
Yeah, but I know that it won't. That won't hurt it.
But it might distract it.
It's true. Yeah, I mean,
it.
Yeah,
you want to get past it. You don't want to kill it.
Yeah, it's true. So, yay.
And we know that Titus Froste caused it to leak.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So I'll yell some sort of. I know what I can use. I use quote and verse because this is clearly a demon, right? Forget the cutlass. I'll yell some kind of Christian incantation at it that it should give way to the man of faith or something like that.
In Latin?
Of course, in Latin. I'm not one of these Lutherans or something, right?
Okay, so I think you're rolling flat at D6 then.
And I've rolled a 4.
Okay, I'm going to let you do a point of harm on this thing because it's leaking. And what is bizarre, Theophilus, is that as you scream at it and charge through it, it spatters against the wall. And blood just begins to run down the wall.
See, it's of the devil and can't stand against the man of faith. I feel vindicated.
Max, you've gathered up all the salts you can find, and you are chasing back up. But let me ask first, Tobias, after you have downed Humphrey Gilbert, what do you do?
Well, I think when Titus turns and sort of manically sort of looks joyous, I will do a Herr Schwartz and give him a quick backhand to the face and say, "Don't take joy in another man's death, no matter how evil he is, Titus."
What's your response,
You are going...
Titus?
I don't know. Is there a facial expression that can, summarize just how much full of shit I think Tobias is at that point? I think I say, in my old job, Sir Slater, I dealt with a lot of shit, but that was the biggest load I've ever heard.
And that, I think, is when Max huffs up the corridor with an armful of salts. What are you going to do, Max? Because that is the point at which it must be said a much smaller blood beast is emerging from the pool of blood underneath Humphrey Gilbert.
I'm going to curse again. Another lengthy string of epithets.
And then, or do you hope that will be sufficiently offensive to drive it off?
Oh, I'm going to throw some salt on it.
Fine. So you just start emptying these powders onto it.
Carefully, because we don't know how many of these things there are, and I don't want to use all of this at once.
Okay. I don't think you need to roll for that, because I think it's just beginning to form. And I think as the salts hit it and it begins to absorb some of the liquid, instead of the beast coming out, it's kind of being sucked back into being absorbed by the solids. But it locks eyes with you, Max. And in a manic voice, no, not in a manic voice, in a well-modulated female voice, it says, it is you that we have to thank. We are grateful. And then it's sucked into the fluid. Tobias, what
the hell have we just done?
Oh, well, now, Tobias, you spent quite a lot of time in a certain farmhouse observing 3 ladies.
I did.
You just heard one of them speak.
Oh no, not again. It's the return of the witches. Steady yourselves, gentlemen. The witches are back. The 3 witches of Kent.
Well, I think of Suffolk, actually. Titus, you hear that voice. You also, I think, spoke to the ladies.
Oh yes, at length, in fact.
And so you recognize the musical tone of that voice communicated through this creature of blood.
Yeah, and again, in the flickering candlelight, you can just see a faint smile play across his face.
The Fae are coming back.
Exactly.
Friar Clark, you have passed through that space, run through this blood beast, to what appears to be some kind of what's the smell? It smells of incense here. There is some kind of incense burning.
Nice.
And there are a ring of candles on a table. And they are a deep red color, burning with a bright light. And I'd have to say that the table resembles a defiled altar. A black cloth sewn with occult symbols in fine silver thread. And sitting in the center of this ring of woven glyphs or symbols are 2 books. What do you do, Friar?
I will. I mean, I'm feeling capricious, but I still want to know what the glyphs say.
Okay, let's engage with your supernatural then. So that's a D4.
Okay, I'm not
Um,
good with supernatural, but I have
You've got
I
occult
have
lore.
occult lore. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that
So-
steps up to a D6 and back down because
Okay.
concentrating when you're capricious is really hard. So it's a straightforward D4.
Oh wow, that is not. Do I have anything that would help me here?
You have fortune.
I have fortune, yeah, but re-rolling a d4 to
I
get
see.
it.
Mhm.
I mean, I haven't rolled yet, so
I'm struggling a bit to see what else you have to play with.
no, I don't have anything.
Cryptic genealogy? I don't even know what that means.
Neither do I, but I have a sealed letter,
It has the word cryptic in it.
right? I mean, I have a sealed letter. Maybe that letter can help me
open
here.
the letter.
I open the letter and see if there's something in it. So I would roll with d6 then.
Well, what is in the letter that helps you?
I think in the letter there are numbers. This is a letter that about numerology, and there are different numbers, and if you add them the right way or the right way up, the right way down, and that's when I think that might actually help me.
I
It was
think
a
it
good
will.
letter.
Roll with a D6.
I'm rolling with a d6. It's a 1, but now I will use my fortune because that I've rolled 3, so fortune wasted, but still.
Okay. So no, 3 is a success.
3 is a 6, 4 is a success.
Yeah, no, anything but 1 or 2 is a success.
Oh, okay, 3 is a success. Okay.
So what I think they tell you is that this is some kind of fey summoning circle.
Oh, that's unchristian. That's the Fae are mainly demons. So yeah, I will pray at it, and then I will go look at the books.
Fine, 2 books. I'll come back to you in a moment.
Yeah.
Titus and Max and Tobias, do you leave the body where it is and move on up the passageways?
Quick check of the pockets.
What will you find? I think you can add to your
What's his
list
boots
of...
like?
They are fine boots.
Hey, just my size.
You have fine boots.
Cool.
Tobias, then Titus is pulling his boots off. What do you do, Tobias?
Onwards looking for our friend, I believe.
Fine.
Hold.
Max.
Cannot leave this corpse intact.
His structure has been destroyed.
That doesn't matter. His
Do you
blood
have
is
the
still
equipment
toxic.
to dispose of him?
We have fire.
We have candles, sir.
Are
Fine,
candles not fire?
I see you are not a man who has ever tried. Perhaps when you were
Titus.
going to be burned alive, you may have noticed there was a lot of fuel around you.
Titus, there was that brazier in the room where you first saw Gilbert.
Oh, if Max wishes to go back and fetch that brazier,
Oh,
then
no,
he
well, it's
may
not
be-
in front.
It's not go back.
It's in front.
go forward.
Oh, in front. Then I say, well, there is fire and fuel ahead, and perhaps the book, and of course, where did the friar get to?
Max,
Where
do
does
you
a fire ever
drag
get
the
to?
body?
I'll invite Herr Frost to do that because I am an old man and he is young, healthy, hale, strong. Look at how he's dispatched with these
Yes,
things.
and you know what he says? He says, oh, well, you had a strong right hand when you slapped me, Herr Schwartz. Give it some more exercise.
What do you
And I'll
do
slap
with
you
that,
again.
Choleric Max?
You can try. You'll get a knife in the stomach if you try again.
Oh, it's all going pear-shaped.
Hey, you said
threatens
exercise that right hand again.
Max, he's threatening you with a knife. Have you got a knife?
Got a break to the kitchen
Oh,
knife.
kitchen
for the
knife.
last time, so, yeah.
He's threatening you with a kitchen knife, Max. What are you going to do?
Slap the
think
taste out of his mouth.
Well, I
Okay.
think when that hand goes up, that's when the knife glints in the darkness. Right?
Let us have Max roll a physical task.
Because my D4
can
is
I
great.
can I just say that PvP was X-carded or was?
Oh, that's true. It
was
wait,
veiled.
That's a line. Okay.
Well, it doesn't mean it can't happen, but
just be aware.
Just be aware.
I mean, you keep hitting me. I'm going to stab you. That's going to be the end of it. You know,
That's true.
We could just move on with a tense moment rather than continue on with the thing. You know,
I suggest.
We all grab a part of the body and we all drag
it.
Sure.
Fine. So you're dragging the body towards the flame. Theophilus, 2 books, one of which I think. I wrote it down. One is inscribed on the front, Necron Omicon.
Seems a spelling mistake. That's Pig Greek. Don't need that.
And the other one looks like a personal diary of some kind.
I'll look at that one. Because people who write names on the front of books are plainly just crazy. You don't do that. Put symbols on the front.
Stained and ink-smeared pages stocked with the ravings of a madman. The babbling scribblings of Humphrey Gilbert.
I think we should just take both of them. Dr. D wants them. They're not for me. But I wanted to see them. I wanted to look at them.
Do you open the other one?
Yeah, of course I do. I mean, I'm looking for truth, right? The truth behind this thin veil that clouds.
I think you will face a supernatural challenge, Friar Clark.
I'm not very good at supernatural challenges here.
And I think that your capricious nature means that you leaf through it wantonly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to knock you down by 1 unless you've got something that can pull you up by 1.
Well, I've got my quote and verse because I can't pray at that book. And
occult law, either way, you go back to a D4. Go for it.
Okay, D4. Let me look at my other stuff. I don't think I can use that letter again. Cryptic genealogy, I don't see how that helps. Another candle so I can read it better. I don't see why that would be an advantage here. And it's a 2.
Okay. The book speaks to you, Friar. Would you roll for unraveling?
Of course I will.
So you're rolling a D6.
Yay. That's a 3.
Oh, you hold out. But the book is talking to you. It is, and it is in a fluting. What's the most beautiful voice you've ever heard, Theophilus?
I think there was in a choir once where they sang, and there was this one boy, and he had a voice like an angel.
That is the voice that the book uses to speak to you. And it says, "Oh, Friar, thank you. Please guard this book with your life. It must not fall into the wrong hands. You are the only one who can safely guard it."
Might I have a name of the being that speaks to me?
I am a friend.
That is not a name.
Help you.
A friend would tell me their name.
You may call me Azagoth.
And I will pray at it because that's a demon name.
Because it's got a TH on the end. People are so bigoted.
Yes, I'm a Catholic monk. Of course I'm bigoted. And it's got a Z in its name as well. So I'm praying.
What do you do with the book then?
I put it down. because it still might be the thing that Dr. D wants. Yeah, I put it down and I pray at it. And we need to sprinkle it with holy water, which I
If
don't
only
have
we
with
had
me.
some.
If only we had some. But
I think that's a good point for our last commercial break.
yes.
Shall we be back in our seats in 5 minutes, 5 past the hour? I'll pause the recording. Okay, so Theophilus, you throw down the Necron Omicon back onto the altar. Just, I think, as you hear behind you some kerfuffle as Tobias, Titus, and Max drag the body of Humphrey Gilbert into the previous room, where there is this large brazier burning. Max, what's the plan?
Friar, if you would have any words said over this body, say them quickly.
I'm in the middle of telling a demon off. Please let me talk to this book right now, because I think that needs to be done first, and then I can say some words over the body.
Very well. We'll set the body alight.
Can I just be clear, Max? She just said, "Let me finish talking to this book."
Yeah.
Does that shake you at all, or we just burn the body?
That's about the seventh least weird thing that's happened in this cave complex, this tunnel complex. So,
okay. Now,
talking to a book at this point feels normal.
I get that. So, with the help of Tobias and Titus, Max, you heave the body onto this brazier, and there is that that unpleasant smell of burning meat. And I have to say, there's an irony in some people sentenced to be burned at the stake, burning an Elizabethan gentleman on a brazier. So the room fills with the smoke and the stink of burning meat, human meat. But you are cauterizing the blood, if that was the objective. Is it then, Titus or Tobias, that you kind of think, what did the friar say?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think the second that we got into that room, Titus let his end of the body just drop, and Herr Schwartz can go on to burn this with.
I love the idea of the Jesuit witch hunter and the Protestant herbalist dragging the body together onto the.
Their relationship was always going to end this way, one way or the other, right? Together in the fire, burning a body. Yeah.
So, Titus,
but isn't it funny that the two of us, who basically informed on each other, are now dragging a body to the pyre?
Indeed.
But Titus I think he drops it literally as Theo says about the book, and it's the book. The book. And just, saunters over kind of like casually, like standing right behind, looking as Friar Clark debates with this book or whatever.
I think the debate, I think we left the point of the debate was then the friar just threw the book back onto the altar into the center of these glyphs.
And I'm speaking some prayers over it.
Yes.
That's basically what I'm trying to exercise it. I can't because holy water didn't get any, but
I don't want to step over Sabine, as a player, metagame wise, I don't want to step over that move of doing the exorcism. However, as a character, I definitely want to get my sticky fingers on that book.
Okay, well, look, I mean, exorcism is a supernatural challenge, surely.
Okay. I mean, I'm not good with that, so clearly. And I'm still capricious.
You are. I mean, so you would have a reason to exercise or not to exercise. That is the question.
No, that's not a question. This needs to be exercised.
Okay, so a supernatural challenge is a D4. I think that you have the necessary words in quote and verse.
Yeah, I do.
That's a D6. I think, frankly, exercising this is a capricious act. Yeah. So I'm going to give that a D8, but I'm going to step you down to a D6 because I don't think it'll be easy.
Yes. Okay. I will try with the D6. Come on, D6, be nice to me. It's a 4.
And what begins to manifest over the book is a dark shadow. And I mean, the bottom line is you can't exercise this book, but you can trigger it. And the smell of burning Gilbert, the sickly smell of incense in this room, the blood red candles in a circle around this black altar. Titus, what do you do as this shadow begins to manifest above the altar?
What does it whisper to me?
Oh, what is the most beautiful voice you have ever heard, Titus?
Oh, well, you know what the most beautiful voice I've ever heard, Alan, because they were on that road to Norwich in that farm.
They were. And that is the voice you hear.
Mm.
And the voice says, Titus, you have already released some powers. Now you have a chance to finally join us in the Hollow Hills. This book, Titus, it can be safe with you. Friar Clark, Titus is reaching for the book.
I'll slap his hand like not in a violent way, but I'll slap him as don't touch it, don't listen to it. Don't listen to it, Mr. Frost. It's lying to you. It's a demon.
Of course, you are
Demon,
right,
there's
Mr.
a demon.
You are right, Friar. Oh my God!
I am going to invoke Titus, afeard, prone to tip into panic and alarm at the smallest trigger.
Mm-hmm.
I think the priest saying to you, "That's a demon, for God's sake!"
Okay, fair enough.
Tobias and Max, you hear this kind of fracas of sorts in the room ahead. What do you do, Tobias?
I will take in the nose and say to Herr Schwartz, I love the smell of burning witch in the morning. And then onwards.
It smells of victory. Max?
Is it morning, Herr Slater?
It's always morning when a witch is burning.
I will just shake my head. And is the body sufficiently burning that I don't have to pay any attention to it for the moment?
No, once you've put him on there, I think that any blood is boiling and cauterized. So yeah, you needn't supervise it down to ashes and fragments of bone.
Okay.
You can
Then I'll
Tobias.
just follow Herr Slater.
Fine. And there you find Titus, kind of afeard, while Theophilus is telling him off, steer clear of that book. Oh, can I just check with the friar? The other book, the diary, what appeared to be the diary of Humphrey Gilbert, you've not mentioned that to anyone. I'm assuming that is in that inside pocket of your robe.
Yes, probably. I mean, I'm keeping it safe for Dr. D, of course.
Of course you are.
I'm not meaning to. This I don't mean to steal.
Even if it's the other book, the one that you don't want to pick up, that is the one that Dr. D wants.
I don't know if it's that's the one Dr. D wants. I mean, he said the book of that name's not the Necron Omicon.
If only you kind of paid more attention to the title page. Tobias, what do you do when you see this going on? Clearly, this is the site of a black mass at some point of some description. Blood red candles, black altar.
But I see this large tome, do I?
I think it is quite a sizable book. I mean, Elizabethan books are not huge, but it's a sizable book here. Lying.
Is this the book we seek?
I believe so, but it is possessed, I think, of a demon. It's probably that Dr. D wants to keep every England safe from these books and the demon's machinations. It can talk to you in your head and seduce you.
Mr. Frost, what say you?
'Tis magic. 'Tis the magic that Dee seeks. He sets us to let loose for England's glory. But it's perhaps more powerful than we. I don't know what to do, Mr. Slater. This is God's work, I am sure.
On the same God's work, I will turn to Herr Schwartz and say, Herr Schwartz, a learned man and a man from a different view. What say you?
As to the
Is this the book
disposition
we
of this
seek?
book,
Do you wish to examine it?
at this point, Herr Slater, I wish to burn it.
I'm afraid I'm with you, Herr Schwartz.
Then we will all burn if we burn the book.
Exactly. I do not wish to burn, and thus we should return the book to Dee. And I'm sure he is a learned man. He can tame or exorcise the demon. If we burn the book, we might release the demon.
On the
And-
penalty of my death, this is knowledge that no one, no matter how learned, should have.
And that's when you hear footsteps behind you, and a dandified man leans against the wall of the passage and says, "Have you found the book?"
Is this Mr. Garland?
No, it's not. He bows deeply and introduces himself as, "My name is Marlowe, Kit Marlowe. I think we may be looking for the same thing."
Do you work for Mr. D?
"I work for England."
May I remind you that we have tradecraft conspiracy.
"You do. How would you like to make use of tradecraft conspiracy?"
Could we know that Kit Marlowe works for Dr. D, or that he is trustworthy, or that he is an enemy of Dr. D?
I think what you can know is that Kit Marlowe is rumored to work for something called something that Mr. Dr. D calls the School of Night. He works for a different organization, it's fair to say. And Marlowe will say, "I would strongly counsel against giving that book to Dr. D."
Good. I had no such intention.
And what would you do with it, Mr. Marlowe?
"I and those I serve would make it safe."
So you would use it for your own advantage.
"That book is too dangerous ever to be used."
Can it be destroyed
I
safely?
think I heard you, sir, and he nods politely to the elder Herr Schwartz. I heard you suggest you should burn it. I would strongly counsel against burning it. That which it contains is held within the book. Were you to destroy the book, you risk the release of all that it contains.
See, that's what I said.
And already the Fae are loose in England again, through, we believe, the action of agents of Dr. D.
So how do you propose we dispose of this work?
Whether we dispose of it or not, Mr. Marlowe, our lives are held by Dr. D and his good word.
Perhaps I can help you with that.
I feel that you want us to risk our lives on perhaps. That is not quite convincing, my dear sir.
And then he draws his rapier and says, "There is risk in all you do, good friar."
Tell us more, Mr. Marlowe.
"If you would trust me with the book, I can make it safe. I can bury it deep. Those I serve will protect England from it. Dr. D is plainly mad with power."
I do not trust this man more than I trust Dr. D.
More, how are we protected? Mr. Marl. That's what I wish to know.
Oh, I
How are you going to save us?
see, Captain Slater. And you think, I didn't tell him my name. I might be able to offer you some alternative employment.
You might be or you are, sir.
Enough of this. I will offer you employment. You have succeeded well in this.
Very well. If you spare me from some kindling, I'm in.
First, we must ensure that Dr. Dee hears no more. He will have given you something. Is that not true, Doctor? What do you do in response to that? Max, which way are you leaning at the moment?
Can you return me to my native home?
I can perhaps make you safe enough to make your own way there, sir. The powers of me and mine do not run over the seas.
Can you at least get me to Calais?
I think there is a good possibility of that.
I'll pull my amulet out.
And I'm trying to remember, a small chiseled flat obsidian disc with a hole punched in it. Yes. And he reaches to his belt and draws out a leather sack. And he throws it to you, Max, and says, just put it in there for now.
I'll drop it in there.
Titus, what are you thinking at this point?
The book.
The book. The book.
I want the book. I totally want the book. I totally want to try and steal that book and flee before anyone can force me to have
Sleight
it. Dee
of
or not.
hand.
Well, exactly, yes. But, we're in that tricky fictional mechanic position of stuff, right? I think I would throw my, I would probably, give him my totem from Dr. D for what do I care about it? Really, I want the book more than anything else.
Okay, now what I'm going to, right, let's just go around. Friar Clark, do you want to put the icon of Saint Theophilus of Antioch in the sack? Oh, you have gone quiet. I think you just muted yourself.
It's the icon of my namesake. I'm a bit hesitant and I feel capricious enough to consider it, but not. I'll just defer the decision before I know where everyone stands.
Okay, well,
because I cannot stand against Tobias Slater. That is not the thing. And Maximilian, okay, I don't care about Max because he just wants to go home, and he's basically an herb wife, a male herb wife. So
and a Protestant to boot.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so Tobias, a lot seems to be coming down to Tobias and what you're going to do with your dark stained leather bracelet, red and cracked.
It's my one, actually.
Oh, sorry, I've lost it. Your carved wooden human tongue, sorry.
Oh, I will definitely give this man my tongue.
Okay. You throw it into the sack. Does that shift you, Friar?
I'm not sure. I'm unsure. That's basically Theophilus. That he isn't sure. I think he'll throw something else in.
Oh right. Okay. What?
I think he has this no. I think I will throw in the cryptic genealogy that I have because I've never understood it anyway. It's I read it and it's not that interesting. So I'll throw in the cryptic genealogy.
Okay. The cryptic genealogy goes into the sack, and the sack is passed back to Marlowe, who ties it to his belt, and he says, "They will not bother you now." Now, Titus. If you had a plan for how you could get that book, I would listen to it.
I totally have a plan for how I would get that book.
Outline that plan to me.
As you know, we're all handing over our things into the sack, and as he gets the sack back, I take off my cloak as I reach for the bracelet. You know, I say like, oh, I must roll up my shirt. You know, take it off, Barbara, and I have my fine travel cloak. You know, as everyone's looking at the sack and he's delivering his things, I throw the cloak over the altar and I snatch up the book and run.
I mean, you will literally have to run into him. He's in the only way out of this room.
Oh, well, then in which case I just snatch up the book with my bare hands and I throw the cloak over him.
Okay, okay. Let's have you a physical challenge, Tobias. You are afeared, so that will knock the D6 down to a D4.
Well, yeah, it will do. Yeah, I'm thinking that my fear is that I am a pawn in all of these great games. In this book, the magic in my hands is the answer, right? But
well,
yeah, it still counts for the
maybe.
knockdown. Yeah.
But I think sleight of hand will knock it up again. And the fact that you use your cloak in the misdirection will improve it by 1.
Okay, so going a bit Radim Zakpal, isn't it? And the blood as well. God, no. That is a 4.
A 4. You surprise Kit Marlowe, man of action, and barge past him. Max, what do you do when you see Titus heading off back the way you've come?
Is there any way that I can trip him or stop him or swing my stick at him?
I think you could throw your stick at him with an effort to trip him up. He's already past Marlowe, but I certainly think you can try that. And so that's a physical task D4. I think given your aggression, I think you can probably turn that into a D6. You have a stick, it's D8. But I think that Marlowe, you have to throw past Marlowe. So I think that knocks it back down to a D6.
Okay. Mediumship would, none of my backstory abilities would do.
I'm struggling a bit to see how they would.
Yeah. I was just looking to see if there's any other way that I could get any other bonus. So it's a D6.
I mean, I don't know if you want to try calling up the shade of Humphrey Gilbert to intervene.
You know what? Why not?
That would be a supernatural challenge, D8. And you have mediumship.
So it's a D10?
That's not a very direct action kind of way. I think choleric will drive it back down to D8.
Okay. So I'm rolling for that first, then rolling to stop Frost.
Well, I think what you're trying to do is to use the shade of Humphrey Gilbert to interfere with Titus rather than your stick.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So D8, correct?
D8.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. It's a 5.
Titus, would you roll unraveling as the shade of Humphrey Gilbert manifests before you?
As a 4.
So that is fine. You aren't stopped by that. He's away and gone. Tobias, any reaction?
I will just ask Mr. Marlowe if the thuggery we observed outside is anything to do with him.
The thuggery.
As in the pool of gentlemen that were trying to break into this building.
Yes, that, yeah, he will unravel himself from so lost a pair of boots, gained a pair of boots, lost a cloak. Yeah, he said, yes, my men, they will impede him.
Excellent. Well, yeah, there's only one way out of here. I can't see Titus generating any other escape method. So in true Shakespearean style, the running man will, of course, be caught by the slow-moving pursuers. So, and he actually, I don't think, have you got a method of, have you got any light, Titus?
No.
There's plenty on the way back.
Well, there's some dark halls, so we will slowly pursue Titus.
Mm-hmm.
Friar Clark?
I will say that he might enter into a pact with the entity in the book. So we should not we should not dawdle Captain Slater. That might not, this things might be more pressing than they seem.
Are you saying he's going to enter a pact with something? Because a man should only enter a pact with God.
Yes, there is an entity in the book.
Oh, I fear Mr. Frost has fallen far, in my opinion. Onwards then, onwards.
Now, there is no way to resolve this, it seems to me, other than ending up in some kind of confrontation.
Yeah, I apologize. I've only just realized that. It's just, you put the Necron Omicon in front of me. I want to take it up, you know?
No, don't apologize, Will.
So I don't really want to end up with you rolling dice rolls against one another anymore. No. So I'm going to suggest that we epilogue our way out of this. Yeah. I think I will go to Titus first.
Mm-hmm.
How, Titus, do we see you escape from this situation?
I think that what happens is they do follow, and he's right and everything, right? But what happened is that Titus grabbed the candle from one of the rooms, you know, that we were in before. We had the chessboard room with the Turk had a candle in. I don't know if someone took that.
No, Tobias took that.
Okay, then, you know, either way, I go in the dark. But what happens is that hole in the ground, as they come there, I have destroyed it behind me. I have weakened the roof some more as I ran through, my shovel banging it. You see my shovel battered and dented as a collapsed tunnel, holding them back a bit, right?
Okay.
And Titus is gone, but there's a lot of bloodless men outside, perhaps.
So do you open the book?
Oh God, yes, I opened the book. I think that the epilogue for Titus Froste is much like Radim's Atpal, is in the wind, holding this book, wanted by his former master, Dr. Dee, and by this new group of patrons, the Council of Night, and kind of a bit of a mad man, following the hidden roads, looking for the hidden world.
Indeed, and is all too likely to be offered it. Captain Tobias Slater, what do we see of you now that you have given away your link to Dr. Dee?
I think you see me holding the dishevelled body of the Queen on Norwich Castle, on the battlements, fighting off a horde of Fae that has overrun England, and the only remaining safe spot is Norwich Castle.
The Fae are loose in England again. Back to back with Kit Marlowe. Friar Clark, do you have a more or less dramatic ending than that?
I think we have a bit of a less dramatic ending, but what we will see is maybe a bit earlier in the whole story is that while they are in a sort of castle making battle plans and stuff like that with Kit Marlowe, and Theophilus goes away, and then he starts talking to his little statue and gives a report to Dr. Dee, and he says, well, and you hear Dee say, well, this is not progressing as planned, but I have a contingency.
Yes, fine. And finally, Max. What do we see of Max as we epilogue our way out of here?
I'm getting off a boat in the port city of Calais. And as I curse under my breath in German, some people nearby hear me. Say, good sir, have you just come from England? And of course they're asking me in German. Say, yes, I have. They say, we're traveling there. Do you have any advice for us for what we should do there, for where we should go? And I simply look at them, scowl, and say, don't. Just stay here, go back wherever you came from.
Love
Don't.
it. Love it.
And I walk off into the crowds.
And certainly, I think that my epilogue for this is that cut to a certain farm in a different place, where the three ladies are crossing the ford and beginning to move out into England. And that is our game. Let's have a quick Roses and Thorns if we've got some time. Let me go left to right. Let's start, Will. Any roses?
Roses, I actually really enjoyed all those epilogues just then. They were great. I liked, I mean, you know, I absolutely loved the H.P. Lovecraft, Elizabethan, Fae mix up in all of this. It was almost like when Lowell dropped the Dracula connection in Night's Black Agents. You know, the characters, I loved all the characters. I very much enjoyed all of that. And the system's interesting. I think it pushes you in certain ways. I will, you know, that's a rose for the system in some ways. I do have a attached thorn in that I think I could be playing this setting in almost anything else and still have as much fun. Maybe perhaps, you know, there are aspects that I think it does well, and it helps be very evocative of this time. There's a lot of, I don't know, like tradiness kind of stuff, and perhaps in the ways that I don't particularly like tradiness, you know.
Yeah, no, I do what you mean. Know what you mean. Okay, thank you for that. Moving along, Sabine, any roses, any thorns?
Yeah, roses to everybody around. It was a lot of fun. I loved your characters. I loved the game, and I loved the ending. That was well done, Ellen. To just epilogue this out, that was I think that was the perfect way to resolve the whole thing. I like that Max got back to the continent. Yeah,
and he's now writing travel guides, I understand.
Oh yeah, don't go to England.
Yeah,
it's very short,
just, you know, going
very short travel guide. Don't go.
Don't. Any other roses?
Well, more roses. Well.
No. Sorry, I because I was conscious that I stepped in then when you were.
Oh, that's fine. Those were my roses. That was fun. I love the characters. Then? I'm not a huge fan of the OSR thing, but I felt that it worked, especially when there was a combat and then we were like hit it. That felt a little like a little drag, but it wasn't too bad. So that's not a huge thorn. Yeah, that's I'm good.
Yeah, okay. Moving along, Paul, any roses, any thorns?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the funnest at the 4 sessions. Everybody played really well. You know, I enjoyed it. There was teamwork, but still some animosity there, you know, which was good. System-wise, I mean, you ran it really well. Not too sure about sort of up and down the escalating sort of D64, D60, this, that. Maybe, you know, confused me a bit. The system, I think Will sort of summed it up, that there are some good things with it, like the unraveling. I think that's really good. But there's other things on it, you know, we could have played this in anything, I feel. That's not a bad thing. You know, and they're all RPGs. I enjoyed myself. It achieved what it set out to do.
And finally, Scott, any roses, any thorns?
Well, I'd like to start with the rose for Paul, because I think it's fitting that the two people who are most at odds in the game wound up finding something at the end that they shared in common, whether it's burning the corpse or making sure nobody gets that book. It's like realizing, hey, we may not like each other very much, but at least we can agree on these things. That's progress. Will, thanks for being such a good sport. I mean, it felt like we were just like pounding on you all session, like get it together, hold yourself together. No, don't steal that demon possessed book. What the hell is wrong with you? Here's a shade in front of you, you know. So thanks for being such a good sport about that. And Sabine, I love how you kept playing Theophilus as a clergyman who had that duty in mind, but still made time for some petty thievery. You know, I'm wondering exactly what those chess pieces were made out of and how much you got for them when you fenced them. So, but I really like that Theophilus Clark would still say words over someone who was dying just to kind of ease their passage, and it felt really real. So, you know, you had that kind of petty criminal side, but you also had that, well, you know, I'm a man of God and I have duties in that regard. So I appreciated that. Alan, as always, you ran a great game. Weirdly, this may actually help me with running Ryutama next month because of the steps up and down. It seems to work in a similar way. So that'll be fun. The system, it seemed wonky at times. And I think at the end, you really had a handle on running it. But it still felt a little wonky. I agree with what Sabine said about combat feeling like a drag. I mean, on the one hand, it kind of bums me out that in OSR-ish games, you can die from one bad roll. But on the other hand, that keeps combat from feeling like a drag. You know, it's quick, it is deadly, and it is over. And that, I don't know that would necessarily helped here, but yeah, the combat really did kind of feel like it slowed things down. But otherwise, I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, yeah, my roses, I think, yes, I loved that Max and Tobias end up cooperating because, you know, I think we said at the end of session 1, you have to start here in order for the journey to take you to there. And I was just really pleased to find something that you could kind of come together around, even if it's burning a real heretic. Will, I loved the way that Titus, you know, once you got past the alchemist, you were just, yes, this is the one, this is the Hollow Hills. So that was great role play, I think, to be tying that back. And yeah, Sabine, I think that Friar Clark, you know, on the one hand, oh, that's a very nice hairbrush, right the way through to oh no, you know, I have to give him absolution before you kill him, Tobias. And yeah, I think it's worth trying to exercise the Necron Omicon. But you know, good on you for trying. And Paul, you know, Tobias is, you know, Tobias Slater, Witch Taker, is a character who will stay with me. So I enjoyed that. Thorns, yeah, I mean, it feels odd. You know, none of the antagonists in this have more than 3 or 4 hit points. But actually, the really interesting thing is when you falter, they get to roll a d8 for something interesting to happen. And it just feels like that doesn't happen often enough. I'm going to go back and check I've got the rules right on that, because it just seemed a bit, you know, I wanted to see that that creature, you know, start sucking blood out of you and stuff. So I think I need to check the mechanics. I felt much happier today with the mechanics, but I still don't think I've fully processed them. And I like the idea of unraveling. I'm not sure that I like it. It's a matter of taste, whether you like a result that says you are now choleric, so be nasty to people, or you are now capricious, so do anything you like. I don't know. I still want to play Supernatural Elizabethan. I don't know whether this will be my go-to system. I think I need to look around for alternatives. And
Tried masks.
Well, or Urban Shadows, or yeah, you know, take your pick. Yeah. Something that I'm more comfortable with as a rule type, I guess. But that's the end of my thorns. But yeah, no, thanks, folks, for being patient with me. So I'm going to end the recording now.